Hey, I'm Nick DiMatteo, and welcome to video episode number 57 and season 3, episode 13. If you're listening on the podcast platforms of Music is Not a Genre. Each week I take a release or several from my collection, I discuss them, I give you my take on them, I throw in some interesting things, and I connect them to my music, other music, and other things in the world. Thanks to everyone who has subscribed, to my recent new Patreon patrons. Thank you so much for joining the Manag family. And anyone who has clicked and shared and listened and watched, and all of you out there who are as into music as I am. Thank you very much. This week, I'm starting a new mini-series. If you remember a little bit back, and if you don't, please go look it up. I did a 4-episode series on illusion in music and how things are not always as they seem or as they sound. This series is called Death is Dumb, and this is Death is Dumb Volume 1, Fountains of Wayne, Power Pop Bliss. And what I'm going for here is, in my collection, I have several bands, artists, either who have died or a member of the band has died. And I'm kind of talking about what that means, how it feels, what the legacy is, and all of that. And that's where, that's where this is coming from. It was just a coincidence that I noticed that a lot of the bands that I'm sorting through my CD collection, and I was collecting the various, band discographies, and noticed that several of them had, either like Prince or someone had died or someone in the band had died. And I thought, well, this is kind of important, We've gone through a lot of this. Life is full of loss. It's full, whether it's a loss of a person or a relationship or a friendship, job, loss of a house, due to fire or money issues or what have you, the end of an era, whether it's your college years or your youth, things like that. It's a part of everyone's life, and they say somebody better to have loved and lost than never to have loved before. It's a tough lesson for a lot of people to learn, and yet I think it's the right one. None of these losses make a difference except for the fact that it was of something that we loved or desired or was a very strong part of our lives. And yeah, the same goes for music. Well, a few years ago when I started, an episode from a couple of weeks ago that I did was called What is a Chronolography, the part of the title. And that's a word I made up, which just has to do with, listening to an entire artist's discography in chronological order. And I talked about how that's not just about the music. It's not about each individual album, but it places it in context in the time, in the era, what else was going on in music at the time. But it also is about those people's lives and what was going on in their lives, what might have affected the music that they were doing, or what decisions they made on a personal level to create that music. And that's similar to me to how the different ways in which people attach themselves or connect with sports. There are people who are all about statistics, who are all about performance. So that might equate to people statistically who know when every album was released, what the track listing is, and all the personnel on the albums. Or as far as performance, how good something is based on their subjective opinion, the chops, the vocal performance, the songs themselves, etc. But then there are people who absorb sports through more of a story sense, that guy just came off the injury list after he had a really tough year last year and started the year gangbusters and then got knocked back. Is he going to come back roaring and ready to kick it or whatever? Or things in a sports figure's personal life or social, public life even, that might affect how they play or the story that's told or the relationship between the players and things like that. That's what I get. One of the main things I get from a chronolography, which is feeling connected to the people who make the music. Feeling like there's a part of them that I know. Now, being an artist and knowing enough about artistry, you don't really get to know an artist through what they do, although some artists will say it's the best way to get to know them, and that's always kind of a chimera, and that has something to do with that Illusion series, coincidentally, that I did before. And I think in this case, though, when it comes to a band like this week's band, Fountains of Wayne, or any band that you feel connected to, that you love, that's been a part of your life for any stretch of time, that has given you music over and over, that's the band whose music you looked forward to or you saw in concert and loved and all of that, you feel some kind of connection, not just to the music but to the people, if you're that type of person who absorbs music in that way, and I certainly am. So that's kind of what this entire series is about, and I'm starting with Fountains of Wayne for a couple of reasons. First of all, because they're one of my favorite bands. They influenced the hell out of me from their first album over here, and if you can't see, it's their eponymous album Fountains of Wayne, released in 1996, to their last album Sky Full of Holes in 2011, I believe, which you don't see here. Their last two albums I don't have on CD. I swear I have the second to last one on CD and can't freaking find it. But, nevertheless, they put out 5 full albums, and then this thing, Out of State Plates, was a collection of like B-sides and alternate takes and things like that. All of that. So great stuff. Not a very large discography, but so, doubly worth looking through. But also because they are one of the premier power pop bands. Pop music I was talking about that with Liz Phair last week. Pop music with an edge, pop music with force behind it, but still pop music. And that's a lot of what I do, and that's partly because of how they influence me, but also how the Beatles influence me, and the Cars and other power pop bands, things like that. But back to the topic, which is, I chose Fountains of Wayne first because last year, almost exactly a year ago, April 1st, I believe it was, Adam Schlesinger, the primary force behind Fountains of Wayne, the songwriter, the guy who really put the band together, along with the lead singer, Chris Collingwood, died of COVID. He was in his 50s, and he wasn't slowing down. He was in the midst of a prolific career, done a lot of... he had another band for a while. He did a lot of TV work. Fountains of Wayne had broken up in 2013. But his death was a real shock to me and to a lot of people in the industry and a lot of music lovers. And I did a tribute concert to him, which, if I remember it, I will put the link here for this podcast. And there's a song of theirs that I'll get to in a second that kind of made me tear up when I heard it anyway, and then trying to sing it and getting to the end, that was a little tough. So, he meant a lot to me. The band meant a lot to me. And the way I see it is this. Bands, music, anything that having to do with life continuing is about hope. So if a band is still together, if an artist is still active, if they're performing, touring, they're creating new music, they're recording new music, releasing new albums, then you anticipate the next one. When are they coming around to my city again? When are they releasing that new album? You get really excited. You feel connected. For example, U2 is due to put an album out this year, and every 4 years, or essentially that's what they've done in the last 3 decades or so, and I anticipate it every year, and it psychs me out that all 4 of them are still alive. It's still the same damn band as it was from the mid-'70s and on. That's what you feel. When a band retires, or an artist retires, or when a band breaks up, it hits hard, it hurts, but there's still that sense of, there's still some hope, right? They may have a reunion tour. They may come together and do a couple of new songs or a whole album, get back together in some way, shape, or form. It may not even be the full band, the original members, but enough of them that it's still that band. So there's that hope, It's not the same as them being together and pumping out music, but, you know that there's still a possibility there. When an artist dies, or a prominent member of a band dies, that hope is gone. That era is gone. That timeline is gone. The For perfect example, and this is over 40 years now, when John Lennon died, it shook the world. Not because the Beatles were still together making music, but A, because John Lennon was John Lennon, but B, because the Beatles could have gotten back together to make more music. And that hope ended. That hope completely ended. Say what you want about the mid-90s box set where they, the Beatles, in quotes, put a couple of songs out, and I think there were a few more that they didn't release based on John Lennon's home tapes or demos, and so it was the four of them. It's not the same thing, and it's not the same thing. It was wonderful to hear, and the box sets were awesome, but it's not the same thing. After someone like him dies, after Kurt Cobain died, after Prince died, David Bowie, like on and on. Don't even get me started. It's the reason why this is such an important series that I'm doing, Death is Dumb. Those hopes are gone. There are still days, months, years where I think of some of these artists and wonder what they'd be doing now, wonder what the band might be putting out now, or that artist, how their music might have changed, the kind of things that you look forward to with an artist that you love. And it sucks. There's no other way to say it. It just sucks. Death is dumb is a phrase that I came up with before. Is it before, or I think it might have been, no, it was right around when I started these video podcasts and long before I transferred to audio. Hello, out there, Radio Land. When I was doing a little thing on Lou Reed and some other bands and talked about, that was when I wrote that phrase, death is dumb. And here's the thing, philosophically, you all have your opinions on death. You may believe in an afterlife and are at peace with the fact that you will die someday. You may fear death. You may welcome death as an end to a loving, wonderful life, or as an end to a difficult life. That was enough, depressing. But there are certainly people who feel that way. You may think that death can be conquered in some way, that you could prolong your life indefinitely. You may be so into sci-fi and fantasy that you just hope that technology catches up to where we can live even longer, or have our consciousnesses transferred to some digital realm where we still feel and think and all of that stuff, renew our bodies or become a vampire or whatever it is. But the fact of the matter is, as it stands today in 2021, and I'm sure until the end of time, death is a part of life. And it's something that we have to make our peace with one way or another. It's best not to avoid it. It's best not to run away from it, because if you're running away from the prospect of you one day dying, you're probably running away from a big portion of your own life. You're not living life to the fullest because you don't understand the value of every single day that you breathe. I wrote a song about that, and my band Rec released part of the Weird Objective. It's the third or fourth song from the entire Weird Objective, called Scroll Out. And the first line is, I want to die a little every day so I can watch my life scroll out before my face. And the idea is, if you can feel every day what it's like to be in your last moments of life, where your life flashes before your eyes, then you might appreciate things a little more. And the older you get, of course, hopefully, as you gain more experience, you feel those things. But my contention is that death is dumb. My contention is that, yeah, I see, okay, so you value life more because death exists. But you know what? And I'm sorry, I can't answer this, but I have a suspicion that I would value life just as much. Some people might not. And okay, I get that. And the thing is, even if we were all immortal, you could burn in a fire and never exist again in that way. Living forever is, of course, a fantasy, but if it were not, there's still ways to die if you really wanted to. But what it takes away from people is just absolutely devastating. There's someone I know now, I've known for 18 years, who's on life support, and it's killing me. There are people, relatives, who have died after a long, long, wonderful life, and relatives who have died way too young, at the age of 30, at the age of 19 or 21, It's disturbing and awful, and I think that's my point. I think death takes away way more than it gives on every level. And when I think of a band like Fountains of Wayne, who's, if we go through this, their eponymous album in '96, Utopia Parkway shortly after, took a couple of years off, and then did Welcome Interstate Managers, where Stacy's Mom was the big hit. But that album, there are other songs on that album that I love even more. There are other songs on other albums that I love even more than that song. And then Traffic and Weather in 2007 and Sky Full of Holes 2011. And in between this B-sides thing, Out of State Plates. So much great music. It's music that more people should know. And you don't know what Adam Schlesinger would have done if he were still alive, if he would have gone back there. I believe, him being so prolific and restless, he would have made another Fountains of Wayne album. And the thing is, the work he did outside of that was great. The work Chris Collingwood has done, and probably, hopefully, continues to do outside of Fountains of Wayne, great. The reason why that band was great was because they were great. But it's kind of like when the Beatles broke up, all of them had super successful solo careers. It still wasn't the same. It's still not the same. And no offense to Paul or Ringo, who kick major ass, but it's the synergy of a band. Even when Prince had a way of reinventing himself to where even when the revolution broke up, he found a way to be incredible. And Bowie, the same thing every time he changed, skins, essentially, right up until his last album, which is an incredible album. But that loss, I hope I hear Chris Collingwood sing again with his wonderful, wonderful voice. And I want to make a point of saying that because he is alive and well, and as somebody we should appreciate because of what he contributed to the world and to this band, Fountains of Wayne. But knowing that the songs that I love, those new songs will never be created. There's a song, All Kinds of Time. It's the one I was telling you about. It's from Welcome Interstate Managers. I did several of those songs in my set. And I had a hard time getting through it because even though it's essentially about a school football game and the quarterback and family watching and all of that, and how he's in the pocket and he's got time to look for his, man and throw the ball and, move on like that, it's still, it has this secondary meaning of how fleeting life is and how when you're young, you do think you have all kinds of time. Well, some of us. When I was young, I thought I was running out of time by the time I was 23, but which I think is actually more common than I realize. But it's like youth is wasted on the young type thing. Thankfully, I shook out of that at a young enough point to where I understood how precious every day is. And I hope that we understand how precious every song is, every album is that an artist or band releases. This band being one of them. And I hope that from this podcast that you take a moment and you look up Fountains of Wayne, you look up songs, anything from Welcome Interstate Managers, anything from their first album, anything from any of their albums. Summer Place from Sky Full of Holes is one of my daughter's favorite songs, especially in the summer. And Sink to the Bottom and Joe Ray and Leave the Biker from the first album, just things that are brilliant and joyous, and there's just even the songs that have melancholy to them are just full of joy, and that's one of the things I've always loved about Fountains of Wayne. And yeah, it's been a year, and it still hurts that Adam Schlesinger is gone, and it hurts that this band will never be together again. Even if Chris Collingwood said, "Let's get the rest of the band together and write new songs," I am gonna buy the hell out of that and listen to it, but it won't be the same. It won't be the same. And that's why I think I've been so vibrantly busy lately, because I understand how lucky I am in so many ways to be alive and healthy and have so many wonderful people in my life who are alive and well, and to still be creating music as feverishly as I ever have, if not more so. It's a wonderful feeling, and I hope that you get that feeling from the music that you hear from me, from any artist. But speaking of me, My Band Rex latest album, Synergy for the Weird, which is the 5th album off of the Weird Objective box set, if you'd like to call it that. Magnum opus for now. Owes a lot to Fountains of Wayne, as do many of my albums. In particular, the opening song, Wake Up High. You can hear the power pop in that big time. So please take a listen to that. The link is below in the text. Please go listen to Fountains of Wayne. Please go do that. If you don't know this, if you know this band, comment and tell me what you like from them. The things, or that you know that Adam Schlesinger also wrote That Thing You Do, the title song from that movie. Incredible song. That was just covered by Green Day actually last year. I would check out that cover. It was pretty awesome. Is there a band of yours that somebody from the band died or the artist died? I know a friend here who just loves Bowie, who loved Queen and was sad when Freddie Mercury died. And the band like that for you, where it just broke your heart when you knew that they would never get back together. For me, it's not just Fountains of Wayne. It's the Beastie Boys. You know, was another one that really hit me hard, and that's going on 9 years now. And it really still can't believe that they'll never put an album out again as a trio. You know, it's devastating on a lot of levels. And just a quick side note, that's why it's always slightly annoying to me when a band who still has all its members or primary members alive can't get their shit together and get something done. You know, I was glad to see Smashing Pumpkins get back together. Say what you want about the new material. Wonderful that they could do that. I was, you know, and I'm pissed that bands like the Smiths and Husker Du have never gotten back together despite their members being, you know, doing great music. And the thing is, individually, all these people have done great music after the bands, you know, the ones who are creators. And I'm not taking away anything from that. I'm saying, why not maximize the opportunity you have while everyone is still living? And I hope, you know, I hope that you all take that to heart and do that with whatever you're doing in life and the people that you love. And let me know. Let me know if you agree with Death is Dumb, or you have another philosophy on it, what you think about Fountains of Wayne, what you think about my music, my song, Wake Up High, what you think about this whole idea that I'm talking about. Love it or hate it. I want to hear from you because, as always, my objectives here are music, conversation, and connection. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I will talk to you next time.